Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us this fine Friday, the 12th of July. Hope everyone is doing well and hope everyone had a great week on the charts as well. So, since we're a good number now, I guess we should be able to start. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyaga. I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know, during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we come to you, we identify what trading opportunities we would be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that analysis and information with you. So as usual, we do have John in the back office, so he's going to be here to assist in whatever questions or queries you might have. Feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and we will be able to respond to you. But remember, any question asked, I will still address all of them at the end of the webinar. So feel free to ask whenever. So let's jump straight into it. So there's a lot to discuss today, and there was a lot of movements that ended up happening yesterday. So we'll start off here with our watch list, and you will realize that we do have a bit of a difference in our watch list. So you can see today, Friday the 12th, usually we only have the buy side and the sell side, but today we have a pair that's actually on the neutral, meaning we're not really going to be focusing too much on the Japanese yen pairs. We'll end up having a look at it when we are reviewing. However, there was a lot that happened with the Japanese yen that we will not necessarily be looking for any trading opportunities today. But for now, this is going to be the watch list. We're going to focus on the sell side pairs. So we'll focus on the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match that with the pairs on the buy side. Do the same thing with the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. But in between, I will end up at least addressing a few things that happened with the Japanese yen. So as usual, we'll start off with the pairs for review. So we'll end up looking at the pairs that we had yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. We'll end up looking at a few screenshots that we did manage to get before we do focus on today's pairs. So let's start off with the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Now, this is a currency pair yesterday. We were meant to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas John had pointed out. And initially, when we were having this webinar early in the morning, you can see the price looked as if it was holding or attempting to hold above within this particular area. So you can see the market just actually maintained holding within this particular location. We did end up getting a probe coming down, and this was during the US market open, because also remember yesterday we had some CPI news which did bring in a lot of volatility on the markets. But otherwise, there was hardly any activity here. We're hoping to see the buyers actually take off. We did end up seeing them attempting to do that during the Asian session. However, we also had some New Zealand dollar strength, or at least some news coming out, which did move the New Zealand dollar to the buy side, and that's why you can see this market being pushed to the downside. Now, if you end up having a look, you'll realize that this market has actually just been ranging between these two levels, hardly moving anywhere. You can't even see when it attempted to break to the upside, it just broke. So that's the reason why today we're not going to be focusing on the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Now, moving on to the next pair that we're not going to be looking at today, we did have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, you can see the three areas that we had pointed out, and we were looking for those buying opportunities. Now, you can clearly see the way the market had been in an upwards momentum for the longest time. Remember, we did speak about the yen showing a lot of weakness. However, you can see the hope was to end up getting a pullback, the price holding above, for us to look for a buying opportunity, but you can see the price actually continued coming down lower. Once it came inside, there was no buying opportunity just yet. And you can see as the price held below, it really did end up coming down very, very aggressive. Now, one of the reasons for this, and we will actually just put all the yen pairs together, is because there was possibly some government intervention that did come in with the Japanese yen. All the fundamentals and everything in terms of the correlation did point out that the yen pairs were showing a lot of weakness. But you can see once the CPI news came out, and that was around 3:30, that did bring in a lot of volatility, but that could have been the catalyst of the government of Japan actually bringing in some actual intervention, because remember, they have actually been trying for the longest time to actually push the market, or at least for it to be a bit stronger. You can see the momentum that this market has been having, or the weakness the yen has actually been showing for the longest time, since February, or in fact, throughout this whole year. You can clearly see how much the market has actually been showing a lot of yen weakness going up. Every time the Japanese, or at least the government, has actually tried to intervene, giving some sort of interventions, adding a lot of money for the Japanese yen, you find these small pullbacks coming in and the market actually continues. So most of the interventions that the government has actually been attempting to do has not actually been working. Most of the time that the currencies have actually just been showing a lot of weakness. But you can see there was some intervention yesterday that did bring in this move to the downside. Now, even though that move did come in, we can't fully say that now we'll start looking for selling opportunities after such a huge move. Mainly because you can clearly see in terms of the momentum of the buyers versus the sellers, you can clearly see how the sellers came down. They managed to get to a particular low right here. You can see they got a pullback. They attempted, and you can see they have not been able to go down lower. Prices come back towards the sellers area. Look at the sellers right now. This ends up being quite confusing even for us, and that's the reason why we're stepping away from it. We don't know whether or not there's going to be any more government intervention, or the fundamentals are actually going to make the market continue going to the upside. So that's why for now, we will be staying off the Japanese yen pair. And you can see for the Australian dollar against the yen, the same thing, the euro against the Japanese yen, same thing at 330 once the CPI fundamentals came about, as well as the British pound against the Japanese yen. All of them did bring in a lot of strength at that point in time, but that ends up adding a lot of risk. Would you rather end up looking for a buy or a sell? If we're looking for a sell, the price needs to come all the way at the top. If we're looking for a buy, it's very risky looking for a buy in the face of such a move to the downside. So that's the reason why for today, the yen pairs will be off our watch list. Now, if you do want to end up finding out a bit more information, there is you can go to Reuters.com. I think there's a bunch of information of why exactly, or at least what happened, even though they're not necessarily mentioning that the yen, there was some intervention, there definitely was. So if you do want to end up having more of a read, I think John can be able to put this link in the chat box, and you can be able to end up having a bit more information on that. But for now, that's the reason why for the yen, it is going to be off our watch list for today. So let's move on to the next pairs for review, because you can see all the yen pairs are pretty much similar. So moving on to the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Remember, on this kind of pair yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas John had pointed out. And I know he did end up giving a very nice trading opportunity available for us yesterday. You can see this trade idea John had pointed out. Remember, I did point out that there was a particular level here. If we did get the price actually coming back and holding above, we could actually end up getting a buying opportunity. Remember, we did end up needing to see that on a smaller time frame, on the 3-minute time frame, and you can see that's exactly what happened, giving us a very nice risk reward. You can see as the price came up, you can see the price pulled back very nicely just before the London market did open, and you can see the price managed to get all the way to this particular seller's area, giving us a risk reward of 1:2. Even though the price went up a bit higher, that's okay, as long as you end up being in and out, able to end up repeating this same process day in and day out, guaranteed you'll always end up making money. And now with the euro against the New Zealand dollar, if you did miss that opportunity, you can see later on, there was another opportunity as well. When the market came down, once the CPI news did end up coming out at 3:30, you can see the price did pull back, attempting to come all the way to the buy, but this level, the blue level John had pointed out, still ended up holding. You can see the price came up, was holding above this particular area at 4:30. And that did give us another buying opportunity to take the price up higher. Or if you were trading this during the Asian session, you can see the way the price managed to go through the upside once it did break and hold above this particular area. But the reason why this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list, we did end up seeing the same thing with the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar, where the New Zealand dollar pairs didn't actually gaining a lot of strength. There was some fundamentals where we can see the strength for the New Zealand dollar coming in. So you can see the fact that the price has come down. This ends up adding a bit more risk. We could end up even considering this move right here, or at least the price attempting to go to the upside. You could find that that was just some sort of probe, especially when you end up looking at it on the higher time frame. You can clearly see the price attempted to go up and it came straight back in. So that's the reason why today, for the euro against the New Zealand dollar, it is going to be off our watch list for today. So moving on to the next and last currency pair we do have the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas John had pointed out. We wanted to see the price breaking this area to the upside, which you can see it did during the London session, giving us another small opportunity there. So it's a similar situation. If you did watch out on the 3-minute time frame, you can see once the price did end up breaking this area to the upside, you can see we did get a very nice pullback, giving us an opportunity to look for a buying opportunity. And remember what we always point out, if you're entering your trade during the London session, by the time 3 o'clock or the US market is coming in, make sure you're either managing your trade or closing some of it, because you can see as the price continued going up, the price actually, the highest point it was at 3 o'clock. At 3:30, once the CPI fundamentals did come out, that's when you can see the price did end up pulling back. However, you can clearly see the price gave a probe, giving us another buying opportunity here at around 430 once the price did end up holding above this area. And you can see the price didn't manage to continue going up higher. However, today, this pair, unfortunately, is going to be off our watch list. We can see the New Zealand dollar strength as well coming in. And remember, we don't want to mix and match pairs that are both on the same side. So that's the reason why today, even though the trade worked out pretty nicely yesterday, it is going to be off our watch list for today. So that's it for all the review pairs. So before we do jump onto the pairs, or at least the watch list for today, let's end up having a look at a few screenshots that we didn't manage to get before we do jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off here with Bravin. Bravin, very happy to see a screenshot here. We do know that you love trading silver, and happy to see you did grab a very nice buying opportunity on silver right there. Did have a buy limit here, but I guess it was missed, unfortunately. But that's okay, because you can see the price did manage to continue going up in your favor. Your stop loss is just below your entry, or at least at break even, which is good because you are giving the market space to move. So very, very well done on this trade, Bravin. I do end up hoping you are managing some of your trade within the seller's area, or at least moving your stop loss higher. But we do know, Bravin, you know what you're doing here, but very, very good job on this trade. So also next, we did get George Chege. He did manage to grab a buying opportunity here on gold. A very nice buy within this buyer's area after the market ended up coming down lower, struggling a bit. And you can see the move that did end up starting to the upside. Happy to see that your stop loss is already above your entry. We do know how these markets move, but as long as you're securing and that making your trades risk-free, you do end up giving yourself a lot more freedom, mental freedom, actually, where you're not necessarily stressed out that that trade could potentially turn into a loss. That time, you're very cleared up. Now, the only potential there is actually how much money you're going to make. So very, very good job on this trade, George Chege. Keep up the good work that you're doing. So last but not least, we also did get Steve Canam. Have to see a screenshot here as well. You did grab a buying opportunity on the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Very nice buy within the buyer's area, taking your selling opportunity or closing your trade within this seller's area. So very, very well done. As we keep on mentioning, buy with buyers and sell with sellers. But we probably ended up taking the Canadian dollar mainly because it's because you're in Canada, so you do have some insight on what's happening with the Canadian dollar. But very, very good job on this trade, Steve. Keep up the good work and keep sending in those screenshots as well. So remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. You should find our contact details right there in the chat box. So jumping straight into today's pairs. So right now, we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side, do the same thing with the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar before we do have a look at gold, silver, as well as the indices. So let's jump straight into the Swiss franc pair. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunity. It still is today, but we can see where the price was within the London market open, but within an area where they're selling. So we needed either a breach to the upside or a pullback to see if price is actually going to hold above one of these two areas. So you can see the price came down. Unfortunately, it did look as if it breached this area to the downside, and that was around 3 o'clock. Now, you can see at 3:30, there was a huge spike where the price managed to get all the way at the top, but that was mainly because of the CPI news that did come out, which did end up coming down, or at least bringing the price down a lot lower. We're hoping to see, remember now, yesterday, our level we did have was within this particular area here. Unfortunately, it kept on probing within this particular location, and it seems like it came back down all the way to these main buyers before the price actually attempted to come up. So overall today, we can see that the price struggled yesterday, but we are attempting to come up higher today. So buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, but be aware of the location where we're at right now. We're within an area where there's sellers, so no jumping on buying opportunities just yet. We need one of two things. Either this pullback would end up coming back in within this buyer's area for us to look for those buying opportunities, or if we are able to get the price actually breaking this area to the upside, giving us a pullback or at least a slow pullback, and we do get the price actually holding above, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity there. Remember, watch out for the market opening times, 10, 3, and 4:30, where we could potentially end up finding a nice trading opportunity. But if we do get the price breaching and holding above, do make sure you're managing your trade within these problem areas. Now, remember, if the price breaks and holds below the red SNR, this pair definitely will be off our watch list. So, hope the game plan is clear. Let's wait to see what ends up happening. The sellers do seem as if they're attempting, or at least there was some sort of probe. Let's see if the price is actually going to hold below. If it does, let's wait to see if we can grab a buying opportunity as close to the buyer's area as possible. Now, That's it for the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the euro against the Swiss franc. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Can't see where the price was yesterday. At least we did end up having this level right here. So we've adjusted it slightly. So yesterday, the level was here. Remember, we wanted to see whether or not the prices were actually going to hold above this particular location for us to look for the buy. You can see the illustration John had pointed out. But you actually also mentioned that there was a seller's area right here at the top that you did need to watch out for, because there must have been a reason why the market was reactive within that location. So you can see throughout the London session, nothing much happened. The price was just ranging, bouncing between those levels. At 3:30, once the CPI news came in, you can see the aggressive move to the downside within that seller's area to push it all the way down lower, coming back down to the main buyer's area. And you can see this illustration that John had pointed out, where we wanted to see some sort of probe. You can clearly see that's exactly what ended up happening, but at least at a bottom level where the price came down, it came back up, and we held above this particular location. And that was around 4:30 or so is when we did see the price starting to come up. But once the price was holding above, there was a buying opportunity there. And you can see the buys will manage to come all the way to the top. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities, but you can see exactly where we are. We're within an area where the sellers. So do watch out for this particular seller's area. We don't necessarily want to jump in on any buying opportunities close to that particular location. But right now, we are getting the price coming down lower. Let's hope to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in a bit lower. We might end up finding it probing, giving some sort of probe or price action signal. You see the price actually holding above, then we should be able to look for those buying opportunities on the euro against the Swiss franc. Now, don't be worried about fundamentals, because there's not necessarily much fundamentals coming out during the London session. You can see there's some euro group meetings coming out at 1 o'clock, but that's it during the London session. Later on, we have a bit of USD news and some Canadian dollar news, some core PPI and PPI news. So not necessarily that much. All these other news don't necessarily matter as much. You'll find that every Friday, you'll find a lot of these speculative net positions, but those don't really end up having an effect on the market. So it's not necessarily that much in terms of fundamentals. So we don't necessarily expect much of a change on our watch list. But let's wait to see what ends up happening and get that pullback coming in. Or if we are able to get the price breaching and holding above this particular location, we can end up looking for the buy. One thing to also just take note of, the last time the price was within the seller's area, you can see the reaction that the price had. But right now, as the price has come in, look at the reaction, not necessarily much. It's tried again, look at how slow they're coming in. It means that those sellers might not necessarily be there or be interested in it again, where you might actually find if the price breaks the upside, you have a high likelihood of continuing to look for that buying opportunity on the euro against the Swiss franc. So do make sure you take note of that. So moving on to the next currency pair we do have the British pound against the Swiss franc. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Price seemed to have been holding within this particular seller's area, or at least it attempted to look as if it was going to break to the upside, but no big movement during the London session. If you find that the London market is just ranging, then you know the big boys are not interested in that. You can end up waiting for the US big boys to see if they'll actually get interested. We can see similar correlation. 3:30, the CPI fundamentals that did come out yesterday did bring in the price down lower, but you can clearly see we did get a nice probe. So the similar illustration that John keeps on pointing out within certain areas, we are always looking for something similar that would end up giving you a high probability of your trade working out. So you can see the price came down, looked as if it was reaching. At 4:30, that's when the price came up, showing confirmation that it wasn't. Once the price pulled back and it was holding above, that did give us a buying opportunity. And you can see the price did manage to continue going up higher. So today, bias is still going to be looking for those buying opportunities. We have adjusted the level slightly. So you can see we've approached an area where the sellers, where we definitely need to watch out for. So right now, what we want to see is it can end up getting a pullback, coming in with either this within this support and resistance area, or even there's a possibility that the price can pull back all the way to the buyer's area. We will still be looking for those buying opportunities. We're happy to see that the way we compare the way the buyers came in and the way the sellers are coming down, the sellers definitely are coming down way slower and not even really able to come down as much. So that's what we want to see. We want to see the sellers slowing down. But remember, there's no buy yet until we see signs that the buyers actually show up. Once we do see that, then we could possibly end up looking for a buying opportunity once we do get confirmation that the price is actually holding above a particular area. So we'll wait and see what happens on the British pound against the Swiss franc. But right now, the pullback is coming in. Let's wait to see what happens. So Hope that's clear. You move on to the last Swiss franc pair, which we do have. This is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Brand new entry on our watch list, because remember, the New Zealand dollar and the Swiss franc are both on the same side. But today, buyers here, we will be looking for buying opportunities. So we have identified these three areas where the potential buying opportunities could work out. So right now, most people will possibly be afraid of looking for those buying opportunities, mainly because they're seeing this big move to the downside. But we need to remember the way the market actually slows down and transitions. So you can clearly see that, yes, the market came down very aggressive. You can see they pulled down. The buyers within a particular area right here, they did end up coming back in. But now these same sellers have attempted, you can see they did end up coming back within some sort of support and resistance and attempting to come down lower. But they are not able, once of all, to breach this particular low. And at the same time, compare how the sellers came down within this particular area to attempt to come in towards this particular low, and compare how they did it the first time. First time, they were very strong. Right now, they do seem that they're actually slowing down. And one thing to also take note of is look at the reaction of the buyer within that area. It's possibly showing us that the seller is actually slowing down, losing interest, and the buyer is actually starting to show interest. So in this kind of pair, we definitely are going to be looking for those buying opportunities, but you can see the way the market transitions, as we always keep on pointing out, a downtrend never just goes from a downtrend straight to an uptrend. There's always some sort of transition where it moves from the lower lows to lower highs, then you find equal highs and lows where it enters into some sort of range, then you could find now the market transitioning to start making higher highs and higher lows. So that's what we're actually expecting here. The market was initially coming down, making lower lows. Right now, we're making the same lows, like we seem to be in some sort of range. So if that's the case, we definitely need to watch out for these levels right here. So if we hopefully can end up looking for a buying opportunity at the bottom of this particular range, that would be best. We don't necessarily want to grab a selling opportunity here because we are seeing momentum that the buyers could be coming in. So if we do see the price breaking and holding above this area, you can see it attempted the first time, never really held. You can see the price came in, showed us confirmation that the price is actually holding below. So if we can get the price breaching and holding above, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, even though we have identified all these levels, always watch out for an area where the market has reacted from before. So even if you do see the price breaching above this particular location, watch out for even these sellers. So there's a possibility that they could end up reacting again. So do make sure you manage your trade within those particular areas. So I hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc pairs right here with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to do the same thing with the Canadian dollar pairs. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. So remember, we did have this kind of pair yesterday. We were looking for buying opportunities, and you can see the areas that John had pointed out. Now, during the London market open, we wanted to see whether or not we could actually end up getting the price coming back in slightly before we do get the price breaching to the upside. Unfortunately, you can see it did end up ranging, did end up getting a slight pullback, and at 3:30, once the CPI fundamentals came about, that's what ended up bringing this market come all the way to the upside. However, even if you did miss that, you can see the price still did give us a pullback. Pullback came in, showing us confirmation that the price was holding above. If you take note of the time, that was at exactly 4:30. So that's why we're always pointing out these times, 10, 3, and 4:30. So there was a small buying opportunity at that point in time as well, going to the upside, but you should have made sure to manage your trade. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have adjusted the level slightly. So we do know as long as we're holding above the red support and resistance area, we will be looking for buying opportunities. You can see there was a particular high here where the market seems to be holding. So we will be looking to see if we can get some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular area for us to look for buying opportunities. But we do need to make sure we manage our trade within this seller's area right here at the top. So right now, we need to make sure we watch out for these particular locations, even though we can see the market coming down. Let's see if we can end up getting another probe. We might find that this price is actually ranging. So you can see there's a small seller's area here and a very tiny small buyer's area here, but it's more like a probe because you can see the price holding within that particular yellow line. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Even if you grab your buy, just watch out for this small area. If we are able to get that price breaching, then I think we should be good to continue with those buying opportunities. But don't be surprised that the price could actually end up coming down all the way till this particular buyer's area for us to actually continue looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. We move on to the next Canadian dollar pair, which is the euro against the Canadian dollar. Similar situation. Yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and this pair did end up giving us very nice opportunities. Actually, the Canadian dollar pair seemed to have worked out quite nicely. You can see the 3A, as John had pointed out, and you can see at 10 o'clock, once we were having this session, wanted to see if the price was able to break and hold above this particular area, which you can see it did. So it did end up giving us two opportunities, both one during the London session, where you can see the illustration even John had pointed out. Once the price broke this area to the upside, you can see we did get a pullback, confirming the price was holding above. And exactly what time was that? But we did see the price starting to move to the upside at exactly 10 o'clock. So you can see that's when the price did manage to go to the upside. We did miss that trading opportunity. You can clearly see there was another one right here. Let me just go to the chart. You can see there was another one right here. Once the price broke to the upside and pulled back. So there was the first one. Let's just actually talk about both of them. This first one did manage to break to the upside and hold above. So there was a small buying opportunity there. But the reason why it was not able to actually continue is because of the timing. So if you look at the time, that was around 1 o'clock, 12:30. So no real big boy at that time. Remember, we always point out these market opening times because those are the big boys who are actually going to push the market. And you can see the price managed to pull back down lower. At 3:30 during the US market open, that's when you can see the price did manage to continue going up. So always try and use the timings as well as the areas to actually give you a nice entry criteria. So overall, you can see the price managed to go up quite nicely. So today, we're definitely going to continue looking for these buying opportunities. You can see we have approached an area where where the market has struggled to actually break this area to the upside. So we'll wait to see if we can hopefully end up getting a pullback coming in, potentially within this support and resistance area for us to continue looking for buying opportunities. If not, we could end up seeing the price coming back all the way to this main buyer's area before the buy works out. So right now, as the price is coming down, you can see it's coming down slowly, which is actually what we want. If you compare how the buyers push to the upside and compare how the sellers are coming down, definitely the buyers are the ones who are stronger. So the main objective is to figure out when these sellers are actually going to die out and slow down, where they can't go lower anymore. And you see the interest of these buyers coming back in, whether or not it's within this particular area or even slightly lower, we should continue with those buying opportunities. Now, if you do miss those buys, because remember, even though we have these locations, you can see there's a small location right here where buyers have also reacted, and that's where price is at. So if you do see the price managing to break this area to the upside and going, holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. But for right now, since we have not seen any sign of big boy buyers, we would not advise you to jump in on any buys just yet until the sellers fully slowed down. So wait to see what ends up happening on the euro against the Canadian dollar. To move on to the next Canadian dollar pair, which we do have, which is the British pound against Canadian dollar. Similar situation, you can see our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the 3A, as John had pointed out. This pair really took off yesterday because you can see from 10 o'clock, once the price was actually holding above this particular area, there was a buying opportunity there. Similar situation as well during the US session. You can see we did get a pullback, even though unfortunately it did not get all the way to this particular area that we had. You can see it did end up giving us a slight pullback at 3:30. That was the catalyst to bring the price up even way higher. But you can see the same correlation with the euro against Canadian dollar and the British pound against the Canadian dollar, where we have come to the upside, very strong buyers. We've approached an area where they're sellers, but you can see how the sellers are coming down very slowly in comparison to how the buyers did come up. So right now, we want to see how far this pullback is going to go, or at least at what point in time will the buyers actually get interested, whether or not it's within this support and resistance area, because remember, buyers have reacted from there before, they could potentially end up reacting from that location again. But once we do see the sellers slow down, we should be able to look for buying opportunity. Hopefully it does end up coming down a bit lower. That at least incites more people to start looking for sales before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. But remember, if the price manages to break this area to the upside and holds above, similar situation to what happened yesterday, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, I hope that's clear. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair, in fact, this is the last Canadian dollar pair we do have. This is the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar, brand new entry on our watch list. And overall here, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Now, you can see the CPI fundamentals yesterday did end up bringing in a lot of weakness for the Canadian dollar. Because you can see in all the Canadian dollar pairs we have had a look at 3:30, you can see that weakness that did come in. Because you can see on all the pairs that I've had a look at just now, 3:30, that's when the markets actually started taking off. So there's no surprise that the same thing happened with the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. You can see the market did end up coming back, giving us a pullback all the way back down to the buyer's area. And you can see the buyers have reacted from there again, which is a good sign for us. Then we definitely know these buyers are definitely strong. And you can see the same thing that we keep on mentioning. Even though the buyers came in quite aggressive, look at how the sellers came in quite slowly if you compare both of them. So the buyers are still here. And you can see as the prices approach this area where the sellers, can clearly see how these sellers reacting. Doesn't necessarily look as strong, but let's wait to see if we can either get one or two things. Either getting a pullback coming in, could end up coming back all the way within this particular area, getting some sort of probe or price action signal for us to look for buying opportunities. Or if we don't find this particular seller's area actually holding and we do get the price breach in this area to the upside, we can end up getting a pullback. If we do get the price holding above, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities in the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. But for right now, since we're within an area where the sellers do trade it with caution, let's wait to see what ends up happening, either a pullback coming in or a breach to the upside before we're able to continue looking for those buying opportunities. So it's pretty interesting, and you can see the New Zealand dollar also showing that strength during those fundamentals that did come out. So we'll wait to end up seeing what happens on this currency pair. So last but not least, for the currency pairs, we will now mix and match the US dollar pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So we did end up having this currency pair yesterday, and we were looking for buying opportunities. And you can see the 3 areas John had pointed out. Now, during the London session yesterday, the price was within an area where the seller, so there was no buying opportunity for us at that point in time. You can see the illustration John had pointed. If we could end up getting a price breaching and holding above, we should be able to look for the buying opportunities. But otherwise, if we are able to get the price pulling back, we could end up looking for buying opportunities there as well. You can see that's exactly what happened. Price ended up giving a pullback throughout the London session. And the price managed to come back down towards the buyer's area. You can see that was at exactly 3 o'clock, which did end up giving us a nice buying opportunity to take the price up higher. So you can see the price didn't manage to break this area to the upside. We did get a slight pullback, and this was around 4:30, where it did end up attempting to go up high again. So there were two opportunities then, but you can see the price has managed to continue pulling back a bit today. So overall, our bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have adjusted the level slightly. So we're fully aware. You can see this is where the buyers took off yesterday, and you can see how the buyers came up in comparison to the sellers. The buyers here are definitely still strong. So wait to see what ends up happening, but definitely looking for a buying opportunity right there. You can see we have approached an area where the sellers, and you can see the way the sellers are reacting. It's not a good place to look for buying opportunities. So wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully we can end up getting the price pulling back towards this main trend support and resistance area. But be aware, even though we do have this level here, watch out for where buyers have actually pushed up from. You can see there's a small support and resistance area here where buyers have also reacted. So don't be surprised if we actually end up getting the price coming back in, looking as if it's breaking that area to the downside. Might incite a few people to look for selling opportunities. You get the price actually holding above, then you could actually end up finding a very nice buying opportunity coming in later on. But if we are able to get the price breaching and holding above this scenario area right here in the middle, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities, but do make sure you manage your trade within the top area right there. Remember, the price breaks and holds below the red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watchlist. So I hope that's clear as we move on to the next US dollar pair. Here we do have the euro against the US dollar. Here we were looking for buying opportunities yesterday, and you can see the 3 areas John had pointed out. Now, during the London session, we did end up starting the momentum to push to the upside. Unfortunately, it wasn't all the way down towards the bottom area that we had hoped for. We just missed it slightly, but you can see it still reacted within a small buyer's area. So I think if I just do that, so you can see, even though we were hoping to see the price coming down here, the fact that the price was within a buyer's area at 10 o'clock, those are things that you should really take note of. So it's not necessarily that the levels that we draw here are the gospel, but it's more only focusing on buying with buyers and selling with sellers. And that's why we are trying to focus on a particular area. So you can see the market did end up pushing to the upside. If you did miss that trading opportunity, you can see it did give us another opportunity here during the US market open, where you can see at 3 o'clock, we did get the price pulling back, coming back in, holding above that particular area. And you can see the fundamentals really push this pair to the upside. So today, buyers here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area. You can see this is where the area where the buyers did push up. In similar situation, compare how the buyers pushed up with how the sellers are coming down. Sellers are coming down much, much slower. So that's a good sign for us because we do want to end up jumping in on those buying opportunities. Right now, we're holding within a certain support and resistance area, which is an area of interest, but do use correlation. I think we had a look at the Australian dollar against the US dollar. The way it's pulling back, do end up having some caution with that as well. So hopefully, if we end up getting some sort of proof happening within here, because it does look as if it's attempting to break this area to the downside. Hopefully, it incites people to start looking for sells. It might even come back, because remember, there's even a small support and resistance area here. Could end up finding the price pulling back there, coming back in, probing, so at least inciting many people to look for selling opportunities. See the price holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. But even though that's the case, watch out for areas where the market has reacted from before. You can see this is an area where it seems to be in some sort of small range. So even if you do manage to grab your buy, what you want to see is these sellers not necessarily showing much of a reaction. Or if you do get the price breaking this area to the upside, let's see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in. Get it confirming, then you can also end up looking for a buying opportunity within that location. But do make sure you manage your trade within these problem areas. So I hope that's clear on the euro against the US dollar. Pretty clear cut. If we do get the price breaking and holding below this red support and resistance area, or the area where the buyers were able to push up from, if the price comes down lower than this, it means that those buyers are no longer interested. And if the buyers are no longer interested, neither are we. So that's the reason why it will end up falling off our watch list at that time. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next currency pair we do have, the British pound against the US dollar. Similar correlation as you can see during the London session, we just managed to grind up higher, managing to break this area to the upside. We did end up getting a pullback during the US session, price holding above. Unfortunately, did not get all the way through this particular area, but you can see the market did manage to continue breaking through the upside. Similar situation on all these US dollar pairs where we have seen the buyers really coming in quite aggressive from this particular area. So we know we'll be looking for buys as long as we're holding above this location. You can see the way the sellers are coming down very slowly, which is also a good sign for us. Because remember, we want to be able to jump in on buying opportunities. But remember, we also want to see strong buyers coming in. And especially right now, would you say really, don't necessarily you'd say think that the buyers are quite strong, because if the sellers have come down, this is not a strong buyer. Right? The buyer doesn't take that long, because you can see how they came up the first time. Similar situation, it's come down, look at this buyer. That's not that strong buyer. So as you can see, the way the price is coming down, we might end up getting the price coming down a bit lower. Could get all the way back down towards the buyer's area, but don't be surprised if we do end up getting the price just giving us some sort of probe, price holding above, before we're able to look for buying opportunity. But we need to see at what point will we actually see big boy buyers actually coming back in. So remember, that's the reason why we watch out for the timings, 10, 3, and 4:30, potentially see if we could end up getting a buying opportunity there, but we do need to make sure we manage our trade within the seller's area right there at the top. So let's wait and see what happens. You might find that the pullback comes in throughout the London session. Then during the US session, the market could take off. But remember, you can see there's also some sort of small support and resistance area here. So even though the price does not necessarily get all the way to the buyers, we can end up also watching out for such locations, especially if it's there within one of the market opening times. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last US dollar pair, which is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. You can see the similar situation with the other New Zealand dollar pairs, where we did see the New Zealand dollar coming down quite slowly. Sorry, apologies, quite aggressive initially. So very aggressive sellers, or at least for the weakness. You can see it attempted to come down lower, couldn't really go lower. The buyers, how they've come in, not necessarily as strong. So it's not necessarily that is a real buyer. But look at the way these sellers, the first time they came down, you can see how aggressive they were, but look at how they were coming down here. Not necessarily very aggressive. And you can see the way the buyers now really showed a lot of interest. So definitely, you know, the buyers are back. And right now, the fact that the price managed to get back towards the seller's area. Yes, the price has managed to come all the way back down to the bottom, where we could potentially be in some sort of huge range performing, or at least approaching. But compare how long the seller took to get from there all the way down here, it was just around 2 or 3 candles, right? So this was around 45 minutes. But look at how long it took just to do this exact same thing. The seller right there does seem to be struggling, and look at the reaction of the buyer, quite strong, which is a good sign for us. We're starting to see signs of the sellers are slowing down, and the buyers are coming back in. And I know we will do a lot more in-depth, or at least we'll go a lot more in-depth when we do the AMP. So the amplified program, the Forex Amplified program, these are the concepts we'll be teaching and showing you exactly how to read the markets, when they're slowing down, and when and where exactly you should be looking for your buying opportunities. But for now, since we're trying to give as much value as possible, we'll still be looking for those buying opportunities. Let's watch out for these three locations. Right now, you can see we're within an area where they're sellers. So these sellers, they could end up reacting aggressive, or chances are they might not necessarily. We don't see them really acting aggressive. Could easily find the price attempting to come down slowly. Then you find the price breaking this area upside. Find the price holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities. Do make sure you manage your trade within the seller's area right here. Just because the seller is struggling, that doesn't mean that he will not necessarily react. So the way the seller, remember, it actually ends up showing you or giving you evidence beforehand that there was actually a slowdown. So even though the first time we've been able to go here, the second time it's taken much longer to get to here. The third time, you might find the market actually just pulling back towards this location before you find the price continue to go up. So before this level is broken, a lot needs to end up happening before that. So don't necessarily just jump in on your buy and try and put your stop where you take profits so high up. Watch out and make sure you manage your trade within these locations. So I hope that's clear on all the currency pairs on the New Zealand dollar. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. Today, we're not going to be looking at the Japanese yen pairs, because remember, we do end up giving you information based on things that we would do. And today, the yen is off our watch list. And that's the reason why we're not really focusing on it today. So that's it for the currency pairs. So right now, we're going to look at the indices. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. Yesterday, the NASDAQ was on the buy side, but you can see today it is on the sell side. So there was a lot of volatility that did end up happening with the NAS 100. It's a similar situation. That US dollar weakness really did bring in this market down lower. Because remember, yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities. So if I can adjust it slightly, we're looking for buying opportunities based on this. And we can see there was a small buying opportunity that did manage to go up. But if you do not manage your trade at 330, once the CPI news was coming out, we would have really cried when the price really did end up coming down lower, breaking this area to the downside. Once it did, because remember, we did have our red support and resistance area right there. And you can see the confirmation. So if you do go to the smaller time frame on the 3-minute, you can see once the price did manage to break this area to the downside, you can see there was a pullback that did come in, giving us an opportunity to actually be able to look for selling opportunities at that time. Remember, with the indices as well as gold and silver, we're purely technical, meaning if we're holding above the red support and resistance area, we're looking for buys. We're holding below that, we're looking for selling opportunities. So the sales, or at least there was an opportunity for sales, but the prices really did come down. So today, we're going to be looking for selling opportunity on the NAS 100. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. Right now, there's a particular buyer's area where the sellers do seem as if they're slowing down. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in, potentially within this particular support and resistance area, or we could end up finding the price coming back all the way to the sellers right here. So remember, if the price is able to break this area to the upside and hold above, then at that point in time, we can actually look for buying opportunity. But as long as we're holding below here, we will be looking for sales. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback coming in, seeing the price holding below for us to look for sales. So this could end up either happening here or all the way at the top. But only once we break and hold above the red SNR, will we switch our bias and start looking for buying opportunities. But for now, since we're within an area where they're buyers and we're looking for sales, let's either wait for that pullback or wait for the price to actually break this area to the downside. So if you do see the price breaching and holding below, then we should be able to look for those sales as well. So I hope that's clear on the NASDAQ. As we move on to the Dow Jones, the US 30. Now you can see this one did not necessarily have as much of a reaction in comparison to the NAS 100. Remember, the NASDAQ, we're dealing with the top 100 companies. So there are a lot more factors, or at least that would end up affecting that. So even as the dollar ends up showing its weakness, it won't necessarily show much on if you're only dealing with the top 30 companies. So the top 30 companies have a lot more power at that point in time. But with the top 100, it's more prone to actions of the US dollar. So the dollar shows weakness, it's most likely to move in those directions as well. But for the Dow Jones, you can see yesterday we're looking for buying opportunities, and the buys did work out, and the fact that we're going to still be looking for those buying opportunities today. So you can see the price did end up giving us a pullback during the London session. Tended to come all the way till this buyer's area. Unfortunately, it just missed at 3 o'clock where it attempted to go up, but there was still a probe where it came in at 4:30. You can see the price spiked back down all the way to the buyer's area. If you did miss that trade, you could have waited for the price to break this area to the upside. Once it was holding above, you can see the price has been holding above for quite a bit. You could have actually been able to look for buying opportunities then. But you can see it has also been quite a bit choppy as well. But today, we'll still be looking for those buying opportunities. We'll focus on these three areas, looking for buying opportunities either within this particular buyer's area, because it does seem to be in some sort of range or potential range right there. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Either get a pullback within this particular area for us to look for buying opportunities could be one option. If these sellers are not necessarily showing much interest, there's a possibility if the price breaks and falls above this particular SNR, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities then. Alternatively, remember, as long as we're holding above the red support and resistance area, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So if the price is managing to break this area to the downside and falls below, then we'll start looking for selling opportunities on the Dow Jones. So hope that's clear on the indices. So right now, we're going to move on to the metals, fan favorites of a lot of people. So right now, we're going to have a look at silver. So for silver, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the areas that we have pointed out. So initially, the price was just ranging between these particular areas, but at 3:30, or at least during the US market open, that's when we did see the price really going to the upside. So I guess if the trade Praveen did manage to grab, you can see there was a pullback and the price did manage to continue going up as well. So there was another buying opportunity. If you did miss this first buy, you can see once the price broke this area to the upside, showed that it was holding above, there was another buying opportunity. But right now, we can see the price is giving us a pullback. Now, it is quite choppy. Now, ideally, with silver, or at least the huge move that happened yesterday, our bias is still to look for buying opportunities, but we did need to end up having multiple levels. So usually, you can see we usually have 3 levels, but today, we're going to end up having 4 levels. So we'll be focusing on looking for buying opportunities as long as price is holding above this red support and resistance area. You can see this is where the buyers took off from yesterday. So if the price is able to actually breach this area to the downside and hold below, then our buyers will actually switch and we'll start looking for sales. Because I mean, if these buyers are not able to take the market up higher, because these are the buyers we're relying on. The price breaks below that area, then this buyer is not real, and ideally, then we'll end up switching to the sell side. But for now, we'll still keep it on the buy side, mainly because we are not going to end up confirming that a level has been broken until we end up getting that pullback confirming it. That's why we always keep on saying this could easily be approved. Well, you can see, yes, the price is coming down. If the price comes back in and falls below, because remember, right now, most people are looking for sells. All the people who had buys here, all their stop losses are around here. So everyone is getting stopped out. If you're thinking buy, most people right now are jumping in on the sell. So if that's the case, it's a good sign for us, especially if the price comes back in and falls above. If we do see that, then there's a high probability you could see the price really taking off to the upside, either within this area or it could end up coming all the way to the top right there. But for now, let's wait to see what happens. If we do get the pullback coming in and the price falls below, then that will actually give us a selling opportunity and our bias will switch and we should be able to start looking for sales. But for right now, this is how most people end up getting, or breakout traders end up getting stopped out, because for them, they're thinking this market has broken that level and it's going. The only time a level has been broken from us is if the price actually pulls back and we get confirmation that the price is holding. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. So that's the reason why for now it's still on the buy, but there is some caution with silver. Let's wait to see how that pullback comes in. So hope that's clear. And most likely that's the same thing happening with gold. Unfortunately, it's not. So that's okay. So overall here on gold, yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities. You can see the 3 areas, or at least the areas John had pointed out. We're hoping to see whether or not we could end up getting a pullback coming in. That didn't happen. You can see the price actually stayed within this particular area. Did nothing much during the London session. The London big boys were not interested. And you can see at 3 o'clock or 3:30, that's when the market did manage to take off to the upside. So the buys did really work yesterday. And today we will be looking for buying opportunities still. So similar situation with silver. Usually we don't necessarily have more than 3 levels, but once the prices really move quite aggressive, then we do end up having it sometimes. So today we will be looking for buying opportunities on gold based on these 4 areas. So right now, the way the buyers came up was quite aggressive. Right now, the pullback is coming in. You can see no reaction of the buyers within here. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price coming back down a bit lower. Or you might find it's a similar correlation is happening with silver. Just because with silver, it's at the bottom, you might easily find that this level has not yet been broken. So you could easily find a similar situation where the price comes in and falls above, then you could then easily find a buying opportunity there. But you could easily end up seeing the price coming down lower. Let's wait to see what ends up happening. If we do see the price still coming down within this particular area, we'll be looking for a similar situation. If we do get some sort of probe or price action signal, because probes incite many people to look for the trade in the opposite direction. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening here. But right now, as the pullback is coming in, there's nothing much for us to do apart from analyze the market to see. If it's going to fall below this area, we'll need to be patient a bit more. And remember, this being the US dollar, gold against the US dollar, it is way more active during the US session. So do take note of that as well. So I guess that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the currency pairs here with the pairs on the buy side, including having a look at gold, silver, as well as the indices. So I guess that's it. So I can be able to address any questions in the Q&A section. So I'm seeing a bit of chit chat, which is good. Seeing Alan Rona, you're saying, hi, Mitch, thanks a lot. Karibu, Alan, glad that you're here as well. I'm seeing you're asking, you had asked about the timing. So you're also asking 10, 3, and 4:30. Kindly assist in specifying which session starts at 10, 3, and 4:30. Okay, yes. So 10 o'clock is the London market open. In fact, we can even start before that. 9 o'clock, as we're starting these webinars, is actually the Frankfurt market open. So sometimes you'll find that some European pairs are actually moving at that particular time. And that's why sometimes we come here to find that there's news at 9 o'clock. That news is being released in the Frankfurt market open, and that's at 9 o'clock. 1 hour after that is 10 o'clock, which is the London market open, which is the main European market that most people use. So 10 o'clock, that's the London market open. 3 p.m. is the US market open. That's 8 p.m. 8 a.m. in the US, in New York. Now, the reason why we also say 4:30 is because even though most offices and everything opens by 8, business starts at 8, but the New York Stock Exchange opens 1.5 hours after. So it opens at 9:30 a.m. That's the reason why we say 4:30 p.m. So you could find that some fundamentals come out during 3 o'clock, but they won't end up having any movement until 4:30, because that's when those big boys are actually going to jump into the stock exchange and actually be able to place those trades at that time. So that's why you might find that 3, there's not necessarily much movement. 4:30, there's also movement as well. So I do end up hoping that helps. But there should be a link that should end up giving more information on the market opening times, because there's also the Asian sessions as well. So I'm seeing Caroline Chege, you're asking, thanks for an in-depth explanation on the yens and the caution earlier in the week. At least the losses on yen pairs were not devastating. I was a victim, but the loss was manageable. That's good. That's good. Because remember, you always need to end up trading with a stop loss. So we'd always advise that. But that's the reason why even today, there's a lot of risk involved with the Japanese yen. So that's the reason why it is of our watch list for today. So seeing Esther Kabiri saying, hi, Mitch, kindly show GJ again. Now, there's no GJ today, but we can show GJ for yesterday, which we were initially looking for buys, but that government intervention that did end up coming in really did bring in a lot of volatility, because these markets really did move quite a bit. So this is around what, 300 pips or so, 400 pips? It's a crazy amount. So even with that, this range that we're talking about here is also huge, around 150 pips or so. So there's nothing much for us to do here. It's showing signs that, yes, even though we're within some sort of seller's area right here, look at the way the buyers have come out in comparison to the sellers. Most likely, we might find this price coming up a bit higher, breaking this area to the upside, but we don't know how high it's going to go. And if it is actually going to go higher, because remember, you could end up finding out more intervention comes in, and as the price looks as if it's going to the upside, you could easily find the price doing the same thing as yesterday. So that's the reason why it is of our watch list for today. And all the yen pairs are pretty much similar. The euro against the yen, same thing, and as well as the Australian dollar against the yen. So there's a lot of correlation happening there. So that's the reason why we're not going to really be focusing on it today, right? Or if you are going to trade it, do make sure you're trading it with a stop loss. So I hope that has helped, Esther. Then seeing here, AK is asking, as per what this yesterday, gold was on the sell side, not the buy side. Apologies. Gold. Yes, gold was on the, apologies for that. Yes, gold was on the sell side, and we were meant to be looking for selling opportunities. But remember, the levels that we had were like this. So we had a level there, a level here, as well as another level here. And remember, since the red support resistance area was here, we did mention if we do get the price coming down and holding below, we should be able to look for sales. Because remember, we were relying on this seller right here. But as soon as the price is able to break and maintain and hold above, our buyer switches and we start looking for buying opportunities. So it's not that it's only just going to be for us. So we are focusing on where the red support and resistance areas are. So I hope that has helped or at least given more insight. Apologies, yeah, I did mention that, but yeah, we're meant to be looking for sales yesterday, but once the price breaks and held above, the buys were definitely up. So I hope that's clear for you. Okay. And I'm seeing Esther Kabir saying, thank you, Mitch. Karibu sana. Glad that could help. So I guess I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. I guess that's it from me and from us. So remember today, bias will be these watch lists, is the watch list here. Not necessarily going to be much of a change in terms of the fundamentals. Yeah, that's it. So I'm seeing Esther Kabir saying, please check you got a visitor. Have a good Friday. Oh, yes, I will. I'll make sure to check on that. Thank you for that, Esther. So I guess that's it from me and from us. It is 10 o'clock. We want to see what opportunities we can possibly get. We have seen many times that at 10 o'clock, that's when the market starts moving. So we do need to end up seeing what opportunities are going to be setting up nicely for us. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today for us this week. Hope you are able to get some nice trading opportunities as well. Do make sure you end up reading up also on the yen, at least what ended up happening. We'll look to see if we can also share this link on the Telegram channel. So if you do want to find out more information on what happened with the yen, you can be able to do that as well. So thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day and a great weekend as well. God bless. Happy trading, guys. Cheers and bye for now.